Hello, fellow lore hunters. Hello, fellow tarnished. And welcome back to our complete lore playthrough. We've just gone through the graveyard, the tombs beneath Limgrave, and we're about to embark into the world above. We'll progress through here and stand on the elevator, and up we go. Out of the darkness and into some light. Almost. We need to remember to come back to here for the to pass through the fog gate when we have a stone sword key. So because of that, I'm just going to leave myself a little marker to say, hey, there's probably some treasure down there. It's quite interesting that these flames are white. I'm not sure what that refers to. It's possibly just an aesthetic. I need to remember to turn off the public messages just to give us a bit more of a in-depth feel to the game. And as we exit the tombs, the graveyard, we can see here, this is the land of Limgrave. And across there, Stormvale Castle. You can just see how vast this world is. We have the Erdtree over there. So we died, potentially up above my head here. Or perhaps slightly, well, at least not here. We didn't die here. We were much closer to the Erdtree when we died. So how we got into this tomb, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps all will be revealed. As you can see, a lot of the land is covered in fog or low-hanging cloud. And there's different elevations to the land up here. And go across. You know that we're surrounded by water's edge on numerous sides. It's interesting that one of the first things we're greeted with is this sight, not quite of the Elden Tree as we pass out here, but actually of these crucified men and women who I believe to be tarnished, as tarnished are not welcome here. Tarnished are looked down upon and are quite often hunted. I believe it's Godric who has his tarnished hunts. It is during those times we need to be especially careful. Perhaps we were over there. That looks similar to where we were, actually. But then I thought we were much closer to the Erdtree from where we started, but perhaps it's there. As you can see, it looks like that's perhaps a church, and then that is the what I think is the tomb, and then there would be where we fought the grafted scion. That's possibly right. It just looked closer to the Erdtree. But then I suppose the Erdtree actually is got branches right above us here, even though the main trunk is some distance away. It just goes to show the enormous size of this tree, which isn't surprising when it is essentially the tree of life. We can see that there is life in this land. We can see birds over here above my head. There's the guides down here standing by a site of grace, which leads me to believe he's an NPC and is friendly. So we will go and talk to him in a minute. And we can see this knight down here patrolling the land showing the path in front of this building here. So we'll first thing. Oh, and then we get some sheep. So there are, like I said before, it's a pretty grim land. It's not full of bunnies, but there is life. But there is also a lot of death and decay, and it's a really interesting mix between life and death here, between the living and the dying, between renewed life and the ending of life. Essentially just life and death. We've repeated it 3 times in different ways. But as you can see, there's a real contrast to how these lands are, and the further we progress out of the graveyard, the more we see more lands in the distance, more ruins, more destroyed buildings. The first thing I'll do is touch this here, not the bloodstain, but examine this. Very small golden effigy, and we'll examine this here. And these little statues allow summoning pools to be functioned, so you can leave your summon sign, and you can also summon others, but you have to use, I don't think we have one. No, we don't have one. There's an item that you need to use to be able to see the summon signs, which is quite a nice touch, as there are, in some areas, loads, so you wouldn't want to see them all the time. Anyway, we got a new item, didn't we? Which one was it? It was the small golden effigy. It's an item for online play. Send a cooperative summon sign to several nearby summoning pools. So this will just automatically send out our summon sign, rather than this one where we place it specifically. So in Cooperative Multiplayer, your objective will be to defeat the area boss of the world to which you were summoned. Which does mean you can get summoned here, and I'm guessing maybe it's the Tree Sentinels, the boss, but there are places you can be summoned. You can just run around quite large areas together. We'll kill the sheep, as you can often pillage items from everything you kill. And it drops some crafting items. It drops some thin beast bones. Thin, hard beast bones. Material used for crafting items, found by hunting beasts. Commonly used to make disposable weapons, and they'll be used in the crafting of arrows quite a lot. First thing before we speak to this chap over here is just touch the Lost Grace. Let's take a look here. There are usually lots of crucified people in this land. There are areas where it's just full of dead tarnished.
Oh yes, tarnished are we? Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring? Of course you have. No shame in it. Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless. Without guidance, without the strength of runes, and without an invitation to the Round Table Hold, you are fated, it seems, to die in obscurity.
So this is a bit of a grim welcome to Limgrave. Obviously we are maidenless, which is bad for a tarnished, and again a mention of the Round Table Hold, which we saw in some of our item lore. And basically, even among the tarnished, we are currently an outcast.
Luckily for you, however, there is one shining ray of hope for even the maidenless. Me, Vare. Take care to listen. Are you familiar with grace? The golden light that gives life to you tarnished. You may also behold its golden rays, pointing in a particular direction at times. That is the guidance of grace, the path that a tarnished must travel. Indeed. Grace's guidance holds the answers. It will lead you, tarnished, to the path you are meant to follow, even if it leads you to your grave.
So Vare there, he's just explaining to us that even though we're maidenless, if we can see grace, which we can, it will guide us on our way and lead us on our path. So there is still hope for us, even though we are a maidenless wretch. And it's a way to sort of just explain to players what these like beams of light are. And if we open the map, we can see them on the map here. So you need to go this way. I think that's more for kind of like the story. Obviously, we can explore it any way we like, as of course that is the great thing about open world games. And FromSoft always have brilliant map designs where you can go in different directions. You can do things differently. You'll get skill checked along the way, of course, but yeah, it's pretty good. Let's see if there's anything else to say. Yep.
Guidance will reveal the path forward, most certainly, to Castle Stormvale, over on the cliff, the home of the decrepit demigod, Godric the Grafted.
So just reiterating what I said earlier, that is Stormvale Castle. That is where we are heading. And Godric will likely for many be not the first boss, but certainly the first demigod that we take on. As you can see in the distance there are marks on the castle wall, battle damage. There's clearly a siege there. Whether that's from cannons or like trebuchets is unclear. It's probably trebuchets. A cannon feels a little bit out of place, but maybe not necessarily.
It's time you set off, I should think.
There we go, just
to Castle Stormvale on the cliff, where grace would guide you if you seek the Elden Ring, maidenless as you are. It's time you
so just exhaust his dialogue. And he's basically saying, if we do seek the Elden Ring, even though we are maidenless, we need to head to Stormvale Castle first of all. However, we will explore first. We won't go straight there because we will get stomped. This chap here, in his fancy golden armor with his fancy golden shield, is the Tree Sentinel. He will stomp us right now, but I just want to show you what he can do. And the Tree Sentinels are heavily armored, they're mounted, they're heavily armed, and they are guardians of the tree, they're sentinels of the tree. We'll come across a number of them throughout the game in different forms. As we can see, you can gather that he's not friendly. He is patrolling where there's clearly been a tarnished massacre. But let's just show you what he does. Oh, I forget the slow build up for that one. Yeah, see, even with 100% block, his attack knocks my stamina out completely. Don't know why I'm targeting the sheep. Yeah, there you go, just 1-2 hits, I'm dead. For some reason locked onto the sheep. I'm not too bothered, there was no way I would win that fight, but it's just to show you that they're tough, and you can sort of get a bit of a better look at his armor, and you can see that there's actually looks like there's vines wrapped around his shield. So I'm going to go a slightly long way around. We go off to the right. Pick up some more roa fruit. I'd suggest always picking up as much as possible and just try and gather as many resources as you can as you progress through the land. We have the flight pinion. Again, nothing of relevance to the lore, it's just a flight feather of birds. You can get these from various birds. And it's used for crafting, and you'll need them for arrows. So for fletched arrows, you'll want thin beast bones and flight pinions. What these are, I'm not sure. There's plenty of ruins and buildings like this throughout Limgrave. I think maybe they're just... that's all they are, ruined buildings. What their purpose was is unclear. But there's quite a lot of them. If we check our mushroom... this is a fungal growth that thrives in damp thickets and elsewhere. Material used for crafting items. Its thick, spongy flesh makes it a key component in throwing pots. So when we can make throwables, mushrooms will be a key component in crafting the filling, I suppose, of those pots. And here we have the bunny-like creatures, like a bunny chinchilla thing. I think... ooh, I don't want to aggro him, but as you can see, as you get close, the AI is quite intelligent. They see you, don't necessarily aggro, but they can keep an eye on you. It's my next port of call after coming out of the graveyard there. What we can see up there, I'll buy the telescope thing first. The golden rune beneath the dead tarnished is quite grim. And we get inside and then we'll check the golden rune. We're inside the church of Ela. And there we go. Golden rune. Grace that dwells within the inhabitants of the lands between. The lingering trace of gold, used to gain a small number of runes. Runes are nourishment for the development of any tarnished, provided a finger maiden can be found. Now, essentially, the runes are souls if you've played Dark Souls, blood echoes, basically what we need to level up. Now in the Church of Ela, we're safe in here. We've hit the site of grace, so when we die now we'll reappear here. we're going to need some runes first. I'll need some runes before we speak to him. We'll go and take on our first Godric soldier. And then we'll take a closer look at the Church of Ela. He doesn't drop us anything, no items. I think what I'll probably do is try and grind out the armor set for the Godric soldiers just to be able to have a read through that lore. We've got some Lord Sworn bolts. Bolts and Lord Sworn bolts. So bolts just says ammunition used for crossbows. It's a common type of bolt. And then the Lord Sworn's bolt. Well-crafted bolt with an illustrious design, wielded by regulars of a lord's army, and it deals more damage than its commonplace cousin. As we progress this way, we can see quite a luscious ground here, full of life, full of plants and shrubbery and trees and shows perhaps the land is recovering from the war. Even if the buildings and the people aren't, the land itself is. Village remains. We've got kukri. A large knife used for throwing. Its curved blade is sharp enough to slice flesh cleanly, throw at enemies to inflict damage and build up onset of blood loss. This heavy throwing weapon is unsuitable for swift attacks. It is able to inflict heavy damage. So it's a bit of a trade-off there with the kukri. It's slower and would be easier to dodge, but actually you can inflict more damage and blood loss. And here we have the Erd leaf flower, a dusky yellow flower that has started to fade to brown, found throughout the lands between, said to be fed by leaves that fell from the Erd tree in days of antiquity. So this shows here that the Erd leaf flowers, that the fact that their colour is fading, usually when plants turn to brown, it shows that they are dying. And if it's fed by leaves that fall from the Erd tree and they're dying, implies to us that actually the Erd tree itself is no longer providing life. Or perhaps the Erd tree's losing its power, its influence. I'm not going to look at the Godric lore just yet. I want to get a few more pieces of the armor set. So obviously he doesn't drop anything for us. There are many caves, many dungeons and hidden pathways in. We didn't pick up anything new, did we? No. In the lands between. And often it's worthwhile just... Well, we won't need to put a marker down actually, because we can go and touch this site of grace, but sometimes if you see places you want to visit, it might be worth just putting down a marker. So you can remember where they are. It's very easy to lose track of everything you've seen. Now, this is the root resin, and root resin is quite a rare material, quite an important material. Resin secreted from the roots of the great tree can also be found near trees on the surface. The roots of the great tree were once linked to those of the Erd tree, or so they say. And it is for this reason catacombs are built around great tree roots. So the root resin is a very valuable resource. It's used in quite a lot of crafting. It's quite a rare item to find, and as we see here, it has its origins linked to the Erd tree, or so people believe, that perhaps the root resin holds a place of value to the inhabitants of the lands between. It's a way for them to feel closer to the Erd tree, to feel like the Erd tree is still providing for the lands between. There's a lot of references to nature and about the tree of life, and how the Erd tree actually spreads its roots and its influence and its impacts everything in these lands. Like I said, you see how far away the trunk is, and yet even all the way over back where we started, the branches overreach us. That jingling noise you can hear. We'll see what that is soon. Oh, we'll see what that is shortly, but if you can hear that, it's usually worth following. We have a Rune fragment here. There we go. Rune fragment. Stone fragment found near places where ruins have fallen from the sky. Can be used for crafting or simply throwing at enemies. These shards of stone are believed to have once been part of a temple in the sky. The glow of a faint light from within. So perhaps all these ruins we see. There's one here, and then obviously saw one over there where we knew where we started, and this thing here. Perhaps they're not buildings that have succumbed to the war or been left to ruin. They are in fact ruins from these temples in the sky, these buildings in the sky that have fallen, which leads us to wonder what was above us, and how long ago did it fall? What was its purpose? Was it a place where Queen Marika lived, part of her domain? Was it something else entirely? Was it one of these otherworldly beings that hold influence over the lands between? Perhaps it was even the dragon god. And when the dragon god left the lands, perhaps the buildings fell from the sky. I'm sure we'll find out more. Anyway, this sparkling noise is like twinkling. It will be a scarab, and there'll be different kinds of scarabs. There'll be these red ones, which we just swallow a health potion. When we kill it, if it's a red one, it will replenish our flasks. If there are blue ones, I think that, or a kind of blue, it gives you sorceries. You can get ashes of war. You can get incantations. There might even be others. I haven't come across them yet, but just to demonstrate, they're quite easy to kill. But if you don't catch them, they'll run away and disappear. But then when you respawn, they'll be back again. Anyway, there we go. Back up to 3 flasks there. And this encampment down here is perhaps a ruined... Well, we've got the gatehouse here, so perhaps it's a ruined trading post, perhaps a ruined training grounds for the soldiers, a barracks perhaps, but kind of strange to have a barracks outside of the outside of the gates, as it wouldn't make much sense. But yeah, perhaps a trading post, perhaps training grounds, perhaps a village, even a small village, very small village, but there are a few ruined buildings either side. I think we have enough runes now anyway. I don't want to get too distracted. So I'll run back. Could teleport back, but I'll just run. Just taking some more of the scenery and enjoy the music. And we'll head back to the Church of Vila. And then we'll speak to this NPC. The reason I wanted to just have some runes on me is because I didn't want to talk to him, run back and then talk to him again. And
you're tarnished. I can see it. And I can also see that you're not after my throat. Then why not purchase a little something? I am Kale, purveyor of fine goods.
so we have Kale, and then there was Vare, wasn't there? So the accent on the end of the name implies to me they're of the same race, perhaps. As we're tarnished, he refers to us as you're a tarnished, so he's not tarnished. And he gives us the impression that actually his people maybe have had conflict with the tarnished before, or him specifically. So let's find out a bit more about him.
I am of a nomadic people, selling wares as I travel. The land has been tainted by madness since the shattering of the Elden Ring. It's only tarnished like yourself, who keep things from drying up entirely. Let's say you're a very welcome customer.
So he's explaining to us that since the Shattering, obviously there's been wars, and now the land is in a bit of a stalemate. There's an uneasy truce between the demigods, and actually it's impacting everybody across the whole realm. All of the lands between are suffering. Despite his uneasiness at us being tarnished and wary that we mean to do him harm, he admits that actually the tarnished are the people who are bringing life back into the lands between, that we are the people who are, like he said, keeping things going, basically. Let's find out what his recommendation is.
You know, if you can spare the runes, you should buy yourself a crafting kit. A crafting kit allows you to make basic items on your own. Essential, really, if you intend to survive out here for any duration. The kit costs a bundle, and I admit I do take my cut. But the important thing is that you survive. Every customer counts, after all.
So he's given us a recommendation about what to purchase, and it is the crafting kit. And it enables us to craft items, and it is, I'd say, one of the first things, probably the first thing you want to buy. There's a few useful items here, cookbooks and little hints. These things here, these notes, they will provide you with, if you look here, a note sold by a nomadic merchant contains information about waypoint ruins. Further details are available only to paying customers. And the same here contains information about a flask of wondrous physic. So they're worth buying as well, at least in the first playthrough, to help you find and unlock everything you can. But cracked pots as well, also worth buying, and a telescope, again, also worth picking up. But the first thing I'm getting is the crafting kit. So leather bag containing a pestle and mortar, small blade, and various other tools. Enables item crafting from the main menu. Provides both means to fight and means to survive. So if you want to be able to craft items, which we do, and it is essential. Well, not essential, but it's important to be able to craft things in this game. We want to get the crafting kit. Let's look through all the lore of everything he has to offer. Short dagger for throwing. It has no handguard. The blade is polished, and its weight is expertly balanced. Throw at enemies to deal damage. This auxiliary weapon, used primarily to constrain an enemy's movements, can still be deadly in the right hands. So it's a bit different to the kukri. They're quicker, they don't deal huge amounts of damage, and they don't cause bleed build-up. But as explained, you can throw them off fairly quickly to limit an enemy's movements, or to manipulate their movements. And the next thing we'll be getting is the telescope, so we can look at things in detail a bit more. So, astrology tool used by members of the Carrion royal family, a stolen part of a larger instrument, allows the viewer to better see faraway things. During the age of the Erdtree, Carrion astrology withered on the vine. The fate once writ in the night skies had been fettered by the Golden Order. This Golden Order is, I believe, one of the entities that exist in somewhere in the cosmos that manipulate and gain following. Then we have mention of a Carrion royal family that were perhaps something to do with magic, as astrology and magic seem to go hand in hand often. Hopefully we'll find out more about this royal family and where they were, or where they lived, and perhaps even come across the rest of the telescope and There are some spells that I've seen that look like they have astral roots. So perhaps astrological magic is a thing. And the Carrion Royal family perhaps were the founders of that practice. If we go over to the Furl Calling Finger Remedy, this is what you need to use to see the co-op signs. There actually isn't, and also for PvP signs as well, there actually isn't any lore for this. It just gives us a description about what it does. If we look at the cracked pots, this empty pot somehow mends itself when broken. Essential vessel for crafting cracked pot items. The materials and magic sealed within deploy their effects when the pot is thrown. So, upon use, you don't lose the pot. You lose it. So you make a fire pot, you throw it, it blows up. You then just end up with another empty pot. So it's not like you buy 3 and you only have 3. We'll sort of go into that a little bit. I'll demonstrate when we have everything unlocked for that. There is something interesting about cracked pots that I need to do a bit more research on, about why they repaired themselves and how they link to something else. But I don't want to say anything until I'm certain. It's just something I read and I can't fully remember anyway. But here we have the Nomadic Warriors Cookbook. You'll come across lots of different cookbooks, missionaries, nomadics. There are others, I can't remember quite what. Anyway, Nomadic Warriors Cookbook 1, a record of crafting techniques left by roaming nomad warriors, contains knowledge for surviving in the face of utter scarcity. We can acquire the knowledge to craft bone arrow, fletched arrow, bone arrows, and bone bolts. Nomadic Warriors Cookbook 2, a record of crafting techniques left by roaming nomad warriors. This one allows us to craft glowstones, invigorating cured meat, and invigorating white cured meat. Here we have the Missionaries Cookbook 1, a record of crafting techniques left by a man who, unable to become a finger maiden, instead became a missionary and went forth to spread holy teachings. Acquire the knowledge to craft the following: holy water pot, roped holy water pot. So this tells us that obviously a finger maiden can only be a female, and in light of being unable to become a finger maiden, a man has set out to become a missionary. So perhaps we'll meet more missionaries, and these will be people who have an affinity for holy magic or incantations, and I know obviously devout worshippers of the two fingers, but their only way to serve the two fingers is to become missionaries. So it'll be interesting to see if we come across more and more missionaries to show once again another faction within the two fingers following. I'm just going to talk about the Nomadic Warriors Cookbook. So there are obviously, I believe, the nomad warriors of Vali's people. So it's a nomadic tribe, and these are their recipes, as it were. This is their knowledge being passed on. So perhaps they were a large nomadic tribe that have kind of suffered from the shattering, and now they travel alone, and they are merely merchants and no longer warriors. And we have arrow and bolts, that there is no lore there, just unremarkable. It's just an arrow and common bolts. We have the torch here. The torch's tip is wrapped in oil-soaked rags and set on fire. The flame can illuminate dark locales or be used to attack enemies. It can be raised up when equipped in the left hand, illuminating more of the surrounding area. It's just a torch, but again, quite a useful item early on. There's a few places we go where it's just a bit dark. And you can attack with the torch, and there's a skill, a torch attack, that just thrusts the torch forward. There are enemies that are weak to fire, so it's kind of useful, I suppose, but I wouldn't really advise using the torch as a weapon. And we've got a large leather shield. We've got a very intricate pattern there, kind of perhaps looks maybe a little bit Norse inspired, some of it, not all of it, but certainly some of it. It is a round shield covered in leather. On the larger side, for a medium-sized shield, though its damage negation may be lacking compared to a metal shield, it can handle a wider range of attack affinities. So we have the skill parry. So perhaps it's by being able to cover a wider range of attack affinities, perhaps it just is a larger surface area than a few metal shields. And we have the chain coif, a coif made of woven chain, standard issue for ordinary soldiers. Though plain in appearance, it offers dependable protection. So it's just pretty much common armor for soldiers. Nothing extraordinary about it. Nothing unique. We've got the chain armor. It's armor made of woven chain, standard issue for ordinary soldiers. It's the same thing. They're plain in appearance. It offers dependable protection. The chain gauntlets is the same, but gauntlets made of woven chain. And then I'm imagining the chain leggings will say the same again. So it's just standard armor. Has no special origins, isn't unique, isn't one of a kind, doesn't tell a story. It's just, hey, this is just ordinary soldier wear. Just shows that actually there's a lot of military presence in the lands between, and the fact that armor like this is available from a nomadic trader tells us that it really gives us an insight to just how war torn these lands are. That this is an essential item in a trader's inventory. And we had a look at these already. These are little notes, little hints to things, and they're quite useful, to be fair. And the last thing I want to do.
You've made an excellent choice.
So it's him sort of just taking on board that, oh yeah, you listened to what I said, well done. And that's another reason why I wanted to get runes first and buy that crafting kit. I don't know if that actually has an impact. Maybe there's a bit of a quest later, and I don't know. Probably not, but that's just how I like to do it. And we have a smithing stone. Stone used to smith a variety of armaments. A shard found in plenty. Strengthens armaments up to +3. Smithing stone is found throughout the lands between, and mining galleries built to excavate it can be found everywhere. So you have different types of smithing stones, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. You need different types of them to upgrade different levels of your weapons. If we go to our smithing table, we would need 2 smithing stone 1s for our broadsword to get a +1. Same for our finger seal. Same for our shield. So yeah, we can craft here for now, but only up to +3. At the smithing table, we need to go to the round table hold and speak to the blacksmith there to upgrade any further. That's basically what I wanted to cover. Just speak to Vale, go through his stock. I will be doing the Godric stuff, go through the Godric soldier gear, but I want to do it once I've got the whole set. I imagine it'll probably just all say the same, but it's just nice to have the set, isn't it? This seems like a good place to stop here. We've met Vare and Kale and explored a little bit. We've seen the Tree Sentinel. We got slapped by the Tree Sentinel. I'm going to try and get my runes back. I'll probably die. We've seen kind of what the lands are like. All these ruined buildings that fell from the sky, from the temple from the sky. We've seen that actually, yeah, there's a lot of life mixed among the death. There are my runes there. So when you die, you come back and you see your runes here. This little, it looks like little trees actually, like little baby trees, which is interesting. Sort of links back to the Erd tree still. So we've got our runes back, and actually I think what we'll do real quickly is spend them here. So we've got 700. I want the telescope, and I know where. Let's get the wondrous physic one. So he's a very friendly chap. He looks like Santa Claus though, so I find that strange. So let's look at the telescope quickly. Let's equip the telescope, and then let's, if we go over to the, where is it? Miles away, over to the info section, and then it tells us a flask of wondrous physic still remains in the 3rd Church of Marika, north of the Mistwood. So we need to find the 3rd Church of Marika. It tells us to cross the highway bridge and follow the animal trail north. Perhaps we'll make our way there in the next episode. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you've learned some things. Maybe you've come up with some of your own theories. If so, please let me know. Until next time.